No due process, clearly no hint at the hope of any due process. In fact, members of his own family are being pursued by the so-called Israeli justice system for attempting to see him at his trial date, I believe this past week. His sister, I believe, is received, someone please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe 10 days of in-home detention for simply trying to speak to her brother in the courtroom. These are nasty people. I think that goes without saying. I don't know if you could tell or not. I am not an Arab. I'm a white guy, right? I'm an American. So you may be asking yourself, why am I here? I'm here because my country is standing behind this apartheid regime. I'm here because my tax dollars are funding and paying for the chains that are binding these political prisoners right now as we speak. Samer is not the only prisoner under administrative detention right now. There are others. His is ongoing the longest for sure, but others may be in well past his. So I think we need to stand here loud. We're in the belly of the beast, right? Washington, D.C., the capital of the world as far as the imperialists are concerned, as far as the 1% are concerned. So what can we do here? Right, what can we do in the belly of the beast? Well, I think we can first and foremost spread the word among our family, friends, people in our community, people in this city, that their tax dollars, that the name of their country is synonymous with brutality and injustice, not only in Palestine, not only in the greater, broader Middle Eastern region in North Africa, but across the entire world. I didn't prepare a whole lot else to say. There's some other folks that are going to come up and speak. If you would like to speak, okay. Yes, you can speak. We can queue up over here if you have something to say. It doesn't matter what you have to say or who you are. Who would like to go next?
Hi everyone, thanks for coming out tonight. I wanted to just say a couple brief things and then maybe we can hear some other voices too, but getting together with family members over the holidays and over Thanksgiving, Palestine and Israel came up a lot at the supper table. And one of the lines I heard the most, I think, and that many of us hear the most, is that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. And I think everything that Adam just outlined shows why Israel is not a democracy. If you've been in prison for 6 months in administrative detention and don't have a trial, that is not democracy. That's not democracy that I want to be part of, and that I don't think Palestinians or Israelis want to be part of. This December was the 25th anniversary of the First Intifada, and I think we have to reflect upon that and celebrate that history and call for a third Intifada. Because we need an uprising, we need a resistance renewed again in the Middle East, and we've seen that in 2011 and the movement against Mubarak in Egypt, and I think we're going to see that more and more in the future because Israeli apartheid is getting stronger. In addition to all the things that Adam outlined, Samir's brother too, his house was demolished by the IDF, I think only a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And the IDF's excuse was he didn't file a building permit on his own property. He didn't file a building permit. I mean, this is the atrocities that the Israeli apartheid regime is committing. And I think we have to resist here in the United States, in the belly of the beast, like Adam said. And one more thing that you can do, that many groups here in Washington D.C. are doing, is organizing for BDS, that is boycott, divestment, and sanctions. It is a call for Palestinian civil rights. It's a call that's very similar to the movement that brought down apartheid in South Africa, and we need to organize boycotts of goods that are produced in Israel and the illegal settlements in Israel. And we have to call for divestment from our university endowments, and we have to call for sanctions from the U.S. government. And I think that means all military aid, all aid to Israel cut off. And this is what we have to organize around. It's a big task, but there are tangible steps we can take. Jewish Voice for Peace is holding a demonstration next Sunday, January 13th, I believe, in Columbia Heights. Please come out to it. We're going to have a huge demonstration in front of the Target, encouraging people not to buy SodaStreams, which is a product and a good that's made in an illegal settlement in the West Bank. So come out for that. And then there's also another demonstration, No Blank Check for Israel, that Jewish Voice for Peace is calling on the 19th, I believe.
Okay, Hala.
Please give me feedback about how the feed is.
Just 1 second, guys. Bear with us. Hala's actually one of our organizers. She's a student here in the D.C. area. She's a very active activist in the area, and she just wants to put in a few words.
Hi, everyone. I just kind of wanted to, because everybody's been saying what they think and also the facts that are facts. But also, we haven't heard Samir's words, so I'm going to go ahead and read some of the things he said. This is a letter he wrote to everyone, and it was translated. This is on the 146th day of his hunger strike, and I'm going to read it a little bit halfway down. He said, "I made my bequest to be prayed over the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is in Jerusalem, and to be buried nearby to my martyred brother, Fadi al-As'awi, in case I pass away. My salutation goes to those who showed a firm stance with me, Arabs and foreigners. Their solidarity represents the world's free determination in a real democratic work contrary to the Israelis' fake one. We see countries pretend to be democratic while they are standing motionless in a crime being committed against prisoners, and a just cause whose only demand is to be free. Prisoners committed literally nothing. I was detained for no apparent reason. My fault is that I entered Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a part of the West Bank. I pledge to go on my hunger strike till one end, either freedom or martyrdom. We won't give less than the leaders who sacrificed their lives to protect their nations, leaders such as Omar al-Mukhtar, as well as William Wallace, who refused recognition and loyalty to the king. And I won't be less than those." And I think just to kind of hear his words kind of really resonates within us, because, you see this image of this man who represents something bigger. He represents the oppression, the suppression, and repression of the Palestinian people. And it's kind of sad because we have to say Palestinian people. We can't say Palestinian nation. Because as much as we would like to think that there's a nation, the reality of the situation is there isn't. And the reason there isn't a nation is because Israel makes it its one goal, its one determination, that Palestine never has its own self-determination. And I think hearing Samir's words is very important because it really brings life to the issue. It brings life to the fact that he's dying so that others can have a chance to live later on, generations down the line. And hopefully it doesn't become generations down the line. Hopefully, with what the gentleman before me said, that it doesn't take this long, in the sense that if we get together, we are solid in our aim to deconstruct Israel's illegitimate, we need to delegitimize Israel. And if we use BDS, and I highly always recommend that people, read about BDS, understand it. And if we use this, we can further our attempts to deconstruct Israel's brutalization, its occupation, and its illegal regime, really. And so hearing Samir's words, I think, is very important, and seeing that he doesn't think that there is life without freedom, so he's willing to die for other people to be free. And we are free, and we have the power to change what other people are unable to change, unfortunately. So I think we should all be very happy about what we're doing right now, and don't for 1 second think like, oh, I went out to one protest or I came out so I did my job. No, this is a lifelong journey, because after Palestine's over, which it will be, and I'm telling you, it will. This whole Palestinian issue will be over. There will be some other nation that's suppressed and oppressed and repressed, as I like to say. And so I just want to thank everyone for coming out and listening to what Samir had to say, because I think that's the most important thing, what Samir has to say.
Please let me know how the stream is. I know it says Poor Connection Network, so I want to see
Okay,
how that
guys,
is.
the next speaker is going to be someone from Code Pink, which is an NGO based out here in D.C. His name is Trig Berry. He actually just came back from Gaza and met political prisoners in Gaza. Now, some of these prisoners that have been on hunger strike for this past 2012, and it wasn't just Samuel Asawi. It started with Khader Adnan, and it went on. And there are certain prisoners that were originally released with the Gillette deal earlier this year, or 2012, between Israel and Gaza. And some of those prisoners, like Hannah Shalabi, who went on hunger strike and was eventually released. She's originally from the West Bank. Her family's all in the West Bank. Her friends all live in the West Bank. But part of Israel's deal to end her hunger strike was that she had to be sent off to Gaza, where her family couldn't see her, where she couldn't see her family, where she was a stranger. And, you know, I was talking to my friend here from Code Pink just a few moments ago, and he had some really interesting things that I think he wants to share with you. And coming from Gaza just 2 weeks ago, talking to some of these political prisoners, I think that he'll be able to put in a little insight as to what the whole dilemma is between these political prisoners and the occupation of Israel.
Thank you. I made this sign over a year ago when the Zionist supporters here in Washington, D.C. held a rally for Gilad Shalit. And Gilad Shalit was one prisoner of war that was being held legitimately as an Israeli occupying force who was committing acts of war against the Palestinian people. And in a deal that the government of Palestine in Gaza made with the Israeli government was they would release 1,000 prisoners in their prison system. Now, these are not prisoners of war. These are people that are picked up for a variety of reasons, some as small as throwing rocks at these occupying forces. I met with people. This says there are over 11,000 political prisoners in Israel that are being held for all different sorts of what the Israelis consider crimes or violations against their laws. But these people are picked up in Palestine and held by the occupying forces illegally against the Geneva Convention. Now, I met with people in Gaza who were released into Gaza from the West Bank, that came originally from the West Bank, that are missing their children, their wives, their brothers, their mothers, their husbands. And they're left, they were just basically dumped into Gaza and not allowed to leave. They have no papers to leave. They can't leave through Egypt. And their families don't have access to go around to get into Gaza to see them. So they're basically dumped there by the Israeli government, which the Israeli government, by doing this, is proving that Gaza is nothing more than an open-air prison. That they dump people into Gaza regularly from the West Bank as a way of confining people without holding them in their own jails, which are being overfilled. People are being held in squalid conditions, in horrendous conditions, by an occupying force. And they're left in Gaza, like my friend said, with not knowing anybody. They're just basically dumped into Gaza and left there. And we've got to remember that these people are every day seeking to get justice for themselves and for their families and for their friends who they've left in prison, who are still there. And with the only hope of leaving is maybe to be dumped in an area where they cannot leave at all. So again, we want to remember that there are people that were released under this so-called negotiated deal that are very grateful that they're at least out of the Israeli prisons, but they are still suffering from the fact that they can no longer be with their families still. And so we should call on the Israeli government and our government to recognize the criminality behind the Israeli justice system, which works only for Israelis and does not work for the rights of the Palestinian people. So this, as we say, this so-called democracy does not work for the millions of people inside Palestine that are being held under occupation all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Payne. Round of applause. Can I get any volunteers to speak as to why they're here? Because, you know, we can organize these protests all we want, but it means nothing if we can't get supporters out here. So I just kind of want to know why you're here, why you're standing in solidarity with these political prisoners. Thank you.
Because I think that there's a real possibility that Israel's plan for peace, this is a black statement, is to eliminate all the Palestinians. That the two-state solution they're looking for is Israel and Jordan, and nothing else. And there's a possibility then maybe we should be trying to get Jordan and Egypt to provide that access way from the West Bank to Gaza. So that's just a thought that occurred to me.
My name is Mike Levinson, and I want to let people know that there is a tremendously strong support within the American Jewish community for the rights of Palestinian self-determination, and support for the international campaign to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. And the best thing that the activists in the American Jewish community can do right now is to join, participate, and help build the BDS campaign to put pressure on the United States government to stop transferring weapons to Israel and the Middle East, economic aid, and diplomatic aid. And help build a international campaign, a public campaign in the streets, because that's what it's going to take. We cannot rely on the politicians or even the diplomats at the United Nations. History has shown us that all the major changes that have taken place in this country and around the world have happened when people take to the streets and protest, and the politicians then jump on the bandwagon afterwards. So it's up to us to set the movement and to build the campaign to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel until Israel respects the rights of the Palestinians to self-determination and respects Palestinian human rights.
Hi, well, I live in Washington, but anyway, I, of course, have strong sympathy for the Palestinians, and, you know, their situation is very analogous to the American Indians here in our country, and we also torture prisoners, as you know. We have solitary confinement for many prisoners going on for years on end, so we are, in a strange way, maybe a broken mirror of what's going on over there. We have political prisoners, too. So what's this all about? We Americans have to stop being ostriches and burying our heads in the sand and pretending we're the greatest people the world ever saw. We have to realize that we're part of the world. And one of our responsibilities is to stop funding tyranny and arming tyranny, and to look in the mirror at ourselves and what we do to our own native peoples, the ones who are here first. But of course, I believe that Israel and Palestine should be one country with equal rights for all, and I think one day they will truly appreciate each other.
What world are we living in right now? Never mind.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to send out a small message in Arabic, so if you'll just bear with me. هاي رسالة بسيطة لأهل سامر عيساوي. بس بدنا نوضح لكم إنه إحنا طلاب مؤسسات، ناس بسيطين، أمريكان، فلسطينيين، عرب، غير عرب، شكرا، عايشين برا، وإحنا متضامنين مع كل بشؤون الاحتلال، متضامنين مع الأسرة الفلسطينية. ورسالة بسيطة لأهل سامر عيساوي، احنا متضامنين معاكم، حاسين فيكم، مش ناسين القضية الفلسطينية. من واشنطن لنيويورك للندن، كل الدول الأوروبية، أمريكا اللاتينية، احنا واقفين معاكم وحاسين فيكم. واحنا كمان عندنا أهل وقرايب وحبايب بالسجون الاحتلال، واحنا حاسين فيكم. فهي الرسالة من واشنطن للقدس، لغزة، للضفة الغربية، لفلسطين، لسوريا، للعراق، لأفغانستان، لكل الدول المحتلة، وإحنا ما نسيناكم. شكرا.
Yes, for good audio visual, no for bad.
And I just kind of wanted to say what Tamara said. Basically, she's saying that we heard that Samar's family was going to be watching this. And that was beautiful of Tamara to take the time to speak personally to the family of Samar and really anyone who's close to Samar and close to the issue itself. And she's saying that we're all here, and Arabs, non-Arabs, we're students, and we're standing here from Washington, sending a message to Samar's family that we haven't forgotten you and we will never forget you. And obviously a lot more other things that I won't translate, but that's the gist of it, and that was beautiful. Thank you, Tamara.
Thank you for coming. My name is Daryl. I'm a United States Army veteran. I served in Somalia in 1993, Task Force Ranger, and I'm wondering here, where are our Iraq War veterans and our Afghan veterans? I know that they're here with us, those who have served, and realize that we've been betrayed and lied to. Every day Americans are lied to on the Globox. Everybody is believing what mainstream media is telling them. And this is what is making people stick their heads in the sand. It terrifies me that this government is murdering people, murdering innocent people, and is financially backing a war machine that is murdering innocent women and children. I disobeyed an order on the morning of October 4th, 1993, outside the Pakistani stadium to murder an unarmed woman.
Yay!
Now this type of thing, when this type of thing happens, it raises veterans' hearts. Because those of us who have been in a place that you can't look straight in the eye, it makes you realize that when people stand up, this means that redemption of our souls, and for things that we may have done, and the lies we were told, the anger goes away, and it's replaced with hope and love. And the healing that we're feeling now is just the beginning. Love is going to win. And thank you so much for coming, and thank you for supporting the people of Palestine.
Thank you, brother. We have another speaker who's going to be coming up in just a moment, but I wanted to share a little anecdote before I hand over the mic. A friend and comrade of mine, Rachel, just say Rachel for now, keep her identity. She's cool though. She wouldn't mind me sharing her story. Little anecdote. She just went to Israel, Palestine on a trip that occurs about this time annually, about this time of year. George Mason University is partnered, and they send students there to get a perspective of the Israeli-Palestine conflict, right? And I think everyone standing here knows exactly what kind of perspective that is. Rachel is a rarity insofar as she has a pretty good political understanding and going there, so she's going to be looking with very different eyes than other folks. But a little anecdote she shared over Facebook and Twitter is that I believe it was 2 days ago, she stepped into a cab and she was driving. What city was it? Yes, from Tel Aviv to East Jerusalem. Yeah, they know that anecdote, but not I do. And she was in a taxi cab, and the cab, they passed a prison, and the cab driver, knowing that she was American, thought that she was a fellow traveler, right? He was in good company. Says, oh, look over there, that's the prison. That's where we put all the terrorists. They starve themselves and think that we'll let them go. You're basically like, these fools. Well, I got news for this cab driver. Okay, we're standing here in the capital of the world, and we do hear these people, and we are here seeking justice for these men and women, and we will get it. And I thought that the designation terrorist was pretty interesting. If he spoke pretty pretty confidently that this is where we keep all the terrorists. Well, that's fine. Give them a trial. If these people are terrorists, tell them which laws they have broken. Give them an opportunity to defend themselves. Right? I mean, that's the point. I mean, we all know that charges are trumped up. But beyond that, if they're so confident that they are on the right side of right, they're on the side of righteousness, right? Give them a trial. Allow them due process. These are basic human, dignities that have been granted for the last hundreds and thousands of years. They call themselves the only democracy in the Middle East. So I'll just end on that. Tarek, you ready to come up and speak?
Alright, hey guys, my name is Tarek Radi. I'm Palestinian. I'm a George Mason student. I'm also a part of Students Against Israeli Apartheid. It's awesome to see so many people out here tonight. Hopefully we'll get a bigger following. Our community will continue to grow, and we can really have a driving factor in this community. One thing that I heard some people talking about earlier when I got in is BDS. We really need to, support the BDS call just because it's something that we can all do even when we're not all together. And don't just use it as something like, oh, I'm not going to go to Starbucks. Say it. Say why you're not going to go. The most powerful tool, the weapon that we have against the Zionist regime is the truth. It's something that they lack. Okay? All the propaganda that we have to deal with every day when we look at the news and we know it's not true and you see their, Tumblr stuff, it's ridiculous, okay? So don't be afraid to say the truth. Don't be afraid to call them out for what they are, They're mass murderous Zionists, okay? Say that. Let them know. They're an imperialistic country. They're a colonialistic country, okay? They're terrorists. Don't be afraid to say these things, Also, our fight will never end until... This is not a war between Jews and Arab or Muslim and Arab. Don't let them, create it into something like this. It's a war between supremacy versus equality. Okay? And it will not end until the occupation ends. We will not stop fighting until the refugees have the right to return and they have the same rights as the occupiers that they have now today. Okay? We will not stop fighting until the separation wall falls. Okay? Until this disgusting regime falls. It's truly something that's disgusting. I'm from Deir Yassin. I've had 42 members of my family executed in the name of this flag. That's all I want to say for now. But I want to see as many people as we can have come out to our George Mason chapter, Awesome. So that'd be awesome, and we can all start to work together and really create this as something that's always going on in the community and have our voice always be heard and always really, keep fueling this fire. Don't let it stop. And another thing about BDS, real quick. I think one of our goals in the meantime, while we have this, should be to isolate Israel from the international community. Cut them off, yes, okay? We're going to cut them off from the world like they cut Gaza off when they bombed them. Okay, we need to... They're afraid of this word boycott. They treat it as if it's like this actual threat, like we're killing them like when they do to us, okay? So let's starve them. Let's starve them of economically, culturally, and academically, okay? Let me just get this. Sorry. Okay? Let's starve them just like the prisoners in Palestine right now and the people. Let's starve them. They're starving for freedom. Let's starve them of the things that they think are their rights, okay? It was awesome talking to everybody here. Yeah! CEO is a huge sign. Don't let... Because 20% of the net profit goes to state.
All right, we're gonna get our dear friend Barry to speak for a few seconds about what he wants to say. We just want to say, we admire Barry so greatly. Our group, we just think he's the best. He just shows up. We don't know how he finds out about these protests, but we just always try to get him to speak. He never really wants to, but we always get him up here somehow. So Barry's the man, everybody. Please give a round of applause for Barry. He really deserves it.
So everyone here that's an American citizen, I just want to say congratulations. Your government is scared as hell. Right now they have most of America watching the corporate media, and it doesn't matter if it's Fox or MSNBC or CNN. They feed them their propaganda and their lies, and they have the whole country pointing the finger at each other. Oh my God, it's Republicans' fault. Oh my God, it's the Democrats' fault. Meanwhile, we have an entire nation of worse than uninformed people. We have a nation of misinformed people. So congratulations, everybody here that's actually taken the time to find out the truth, because you're not going to find it from the corporate media. This handful of corporations that control just about everything America sees and America believes. But protests like this actually help to wake up the public, and the public has to wake up and realize that, yes, Palestinians are being picked up and being held without charge, without trial, indefinitely, no due process. America loved it so much, hey, we're going to try that ourselves. And we started having people get kidnapped, thrown in vans, handed over to the CIA for a bounty, flown halfway across the world, and there's been people in Guantanamo Bay for over a decade now. Right. And Americans still aren't waking up. They figure, okay, that's over there, oh, it's over in Israel, it doesn't affect me. Most Americans don't even know what the National Defense Authorization Act is. But if you're not concerned about indefinite detention without charge or trial, ignorant America, you're out there, don't worry. It's coming to a country near you real soon. And that's all I have to say. Everybody turn off the corporate media. They are not there to inform you. They're there to tell you what to think, who to hate, who to fear, even who to vote for. But they're not going to tell you the truth. If you want that, it's up to you to do your own research, read books, go on the internet, find out the truth, and then you'll be as outraged as some of the folks here are that saw what's happening, know what's happening, and are brave enough and courageous enough to stand up and speak the truth to power. And again, congratulations to everybody here participating in this vigil. Your government is afraid as hell. You should be proud of that. Speak truth to power.
Thank you, Barry. You're the man. Barry.
Where Barry?
Is Madam in the crowd somewhere? Madam? Hey, okay, so Madam is, she's one of the organizers as well, and she's going to, I'm sorry?
Take is going to talk.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Take from cocaine.
I just wanted to explain why I went to Gaza recently. It's because it was the Operation Pillar of Cloud that was performed by the Israeli occupying forces. The 97% of those people who were killed or injured in Gaza were civilians. Very few people were actually fighting the occupying forces that were injured or killed in Gaza. So we have to remember that the Israelis claim that they were trying to stop bombs or whatever coming from Gaza Strip into Israel. But at the same time, they were targeting civilians inside Israel. And you could see, I went to the house where 12 people were massacred. And Israel said, oops, a mistake. Yet Israel knows the telephone numbers of every single person in Gaza. They know the exact location of everyone in Gaza. They did surgical strikes inside Gaza for one of the people that was working to bring peace to the Palestinian people. So we know that the Israelis are full of lies when it comes to what they're doing as far as their treatment of civilians inside Palestine. I saw a house that was completely demolished with 12 people inside, children inside the house. So we can't no longer allow I actually heard the other day on NPR someone describing foreign aid as a tool to use to get other countries to do what the United States want them to do. Why are we not taking away the $3 billion worth of aid? Israel is the largest aid recipient from the United States. We need to take that money and put it into our social programs here in the United States and say no to Israel. We need to stop the violence inside Gaza. These people are confined. It's the largest concentration of people in one spot in the world, and there's no place that's safe in Gaza. We walked up to the border, what they call the border, where the people of Gaza are the best land to grow crops are in that what they call the buffer zone, the 300-meter, 500-meter zone that separates Israel from Palestine. Or actually, Israel claims they need that space as well as their own country space, which I don't really recognize. But when we came close, we came up to within 100 meters of the border crossing. The Israelis actually entered into Palestine, and there was like 20 of us, and we were internationals, and they were threatening. They were pointing guns at us, and they were coming inside Palestine. And we were nonviolent. We were holding our hands out. We had nothing, and we were just testing to see how close a real Palestinian could get. At the same time, when the end of Pillar of Cloud was done, people were excited. They thought they could go next to the border, to the crossing where they could plant their crops. They entered into this zone, which was Israel said they could come into the buffer zone to plant their crops, and they were shot at and killed after Pillar of Cloud. At least 20 people were killed that I know of while just attempting to plant their own crops inside this area. So we need to tell our government that it needs to recognize international law, and it needs to respect the Palestinian people as a people that have a country that they want to have. They want to have economic viability, and they can never have economic viability when Israel completely closes off every